Hey everyone, and welcome to the Dice Tower. I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
I'm Chris Yee.
Today we're going to take a look at the mirroring of Mary King. This is a game that I saw in the Gen Con preview list that we did when we were kind of excited, trying to see what we want to check out. I was really drawn in by the artwork. I think I expected a bigger box, so when I got there and I saw it was so small,
That is the funny thing when you look at the preview image on Board Game Geek. You're like, oh, cool. Yeah. Oh, okay, cool.
All right, yeah, right.
I like small box two-player games. So.
Absolutely, and I was like, oh, and it fits in my luggage, so this is perfect. So I grabbed a copy, and we've gotten to the table a couple times now. So before we get going too far, let's check out how it plays, and then we'll come back. All right, so the Mirroring of Mary King is a 2-player game, which is going to be played over up to 5 rounds. At the end of the 5 rounds, if nobody has met one of the instant win or loss conditions, then you go into final game scoring, which is going to be area majority as well as cards in your hand. On each day of the week is going to be a single round, which is going to be annotated by this bead here, going up for each round. Each player takes 1 turn. At the end of the turn, you're going to again check this area control penalty and discard cards from your hand. So instant win condition is to have all the tiles turned over to your side. One of you plays as regular Mary King. One is going to play as an ancestor who's deceased, who's trying to possess the body, annotated by the different artwork you see here. So if you ever get all of the tiles flipped over to your side, then it's instant win. Instant loss is going to be not having enough cards in your deck here to meet some requirement. So at the beginning of your turn, you always draw up to 5 cards. If you can't, then you're going to instantly lose. If you can't discard cards because of a power that somebody plays, then you instantly lose as well. So to start the game, everyone has a hand of 5, and we're going to go through a couple different steps each round. The first thing you're going to do is draw a hand of 5 cards. The cards are going to be 2 different kinds. You have control cards and you're going to have special cards for your character. You can play a number of control cards up to the round. So the top row here is going to show you how many ideas you can buy. Ideas are going to be the cards on the side of the board here. So this is how many of those you can purchase. The control cards you can play is annotated by the bottom track, which is going to move from right to left. So for example, on Monday, you can buy 1 idea and you can play 5 control cards. On Tuesday, buying 2 ideas and 4 control cards, etc., throughout the round. So like I said, the very first step is to gather your thoughts and draw up to 5 cards in your hand. If you can't do that, you instantly lose. The next thing is to get new ideas. You're going to turn over the top card of each of these on your side. The ghost player always goes first. So for this first hand here for the ghost player, you will not have any ideas over here to purchase. To purchase that idea, you will need to discard a card from your mind here. So you would discard a card in order to pick it up. If you are picking up one of your own ideas, you can add it to your hand to play at any time. If you are if you're picking up an idea from the opposing players, then you have to play it immediately. You cannot bank that for later. So we gather our thoughts, we draw up to 5, we get the new ideas, I'll put that back down, and then you're going to buy and play the cards. All right, so like I said, you maybe perhaps discard that to pick that up into hand. Anytime you play a control card, again, you're going to move the bead, play a control card, you would flip those cards over to your side. So this would be terrible for this player because these 2 are already in their color. However, if they flip it upside down, then they could do it like this. And then that would go into their discard. Anytime you play one of your special cards here, you do need to check a symbol in 2 different places. On the left-hand side here, there's going to be a symbol that tells you when you can play it. Each card also has 2 different effects, and depending on which one you choose, depends on when you can play it. There's also going to be a symbol in the lower right-hand corner, which tells you what to do with the card after you play it, whether it goes to your own deck or your own deck to be drawn again later or back, out of the game. Finally, at the end of your turn, once you are done playing as many control cards as you want, because you do not have to play all of them, that is a decision you'll have to make. But after you're done, then you go to the end of turn penalty, area control penalty here, which is going to be annotated on this board or this player aid down here. So your largest area of control, that's going to be contiguous tiles here on your side, and they have to share an edge, so diagonal does not count. So for example, here's a group of 3 and here's a group of 4. So this player would have a group of 4 is their largest, which means the opponent has to discard 1 card. Now, this one now currently only has single groups, which is going to be an area control of nothing. So then we would move on to the To Marry King player here. The first thing they would do is draw up to a hand of cards, show their new ideas, and then they go through and do the buying and playing cards after these reset. So again, on Monday. Play is going to continue like this through 5 rounds, unless somebody, like I said, instantly wins by flipping all the tiles over to them, or instantly loses by not being able to draw a card when needed. If that doesn't happen, we go all the way through the 5 rounds. Then we go see, you get points based on your area control, as well as cards left in your deck here. Highest score wins. That's going to be the mirroring of Marry King. Let's go back up top and talk about our thoughts. All right, so Chris, I kind of talked about my expectations. You know, from Gen Con, I knew nothing about the game other than a 2-player kind of tug-of-war, instant win condition or endgame scoring. That's about all I knew going into it. Did you have any idea about this game when I sat you down and said, play with me?
No, I thought, the artwork is really cool. It's kind of got that, flipping thing going on. As you're teaching the rules, I was like, got it, this is a really simple game. The only thing is that there were a few, like the terminology, the game leads front forward with thematic terminology.
Very much so.
Which I know that you always say, oh, I'm a themer.
Yep.
And for me, I'm like, teach me how to play the game. Yeah. I don't care if it's the mind or if it's my deck of cards.
Right.
Like I will not call this the mind, I don't think at any point.
The mind.
Like, this is the deck of cards. This is my discard pile.
Discard cards from your mind.
Right.
Yeah.
So aside from that little thing, I think that it made a good first impression. We're like, hey, these are the rules. And that's kind of it. Right,
and I think that was tough because when I was teaching you the game that first time, in the rule book, it calls it that the entire time.
Yeah.
And so there were multiple times I had to refer back. It was like the mind. And so I think my first time playing, I was discarding from my hand, not from the deck, because I was thinking the mind, and so that is one thing that did catch me off guard. I love it being a themer, but it did make it a little confusing to play. And I think it took me at least 2, maybe 3 times where I was like, okay, this is a pretty simple game, and I'm just now figuring out how to play correctly, because I think the rule book was a little convoluted with that.
What is an idea versus a control card from hand, stuff like that.
Right, yeah. Can you play the control cards? If you get them from the tableau down here, do they count towards the control? Little things like that. So I do wish that the rule book, or one negative I'll say is the rule book was not quite as precise or clear as I would have wanted.
I think most of the information's there. You just kind of have to find it. And then, we still had a question or two, but we were able to figure it out.
Right, yeah. That being said, that is one of the few negatives I personally have on the game. I've really enjoyed my plays of this game. I kind of call it that tug-of-war. I like that there's multiple ways to win or lose. There's the instant win, the instant loss, or going the full game, the full 5 rounds. And I like that kind of balance of it. I think my favorite mechanism of the game is the inverse relationship of the buying ideas and playing the control cards. You really feel that tension as you go through the game of like wanting to get everything, but not getting too many ideas and running out your mind, your deck, just trying to maintain that balance. What did you think of that?
Yeah, it's really interesting because as the game progresses, as that round marker goes forward, you can play fewer things from your hand, basically. And you're like, I have to buy more ideas from that kind of market out there, but that's running out your deck. Decking out being a loss condition, I think is what, for me, really makes the game. Right. I like flipping the control tiles. I like the whole thing, but at the end of a turn being like, you got to discard 3 cards, bub. That sucks because that's kind of like my life points almost. And I think that it does that in a way that's really just intuitive. Burning through your deck, bad.
Right. Or when you're really excited because that they're going to make you discard all that area control and you're like, oh man, don't turn them all, just leave me 1, leave them 1, and it's like, boom, you got 11, that's 3 card discard, and I play that card, it's like, no, you're discarding it from your deck, so it still has that, take that, but it doesn't feel bad. It's not feel bad, take that. It feels more maneuvering than like take that, haha, sucker punch. And I really like that a lot. I think another thing that I like about this game, and we talked about this after one of our plays, is the balance of tension and puzzly. When it's your turn, you're really feeling like you're mapping out this puzzle. Okay, what's available? How many is that going to cost? I can turn these upside down. And so it's this spatial puzzle and also kind of order of operations puzzle to see what you can do maximum damage, or maximum possession of the character. I guess I usually play the ghost. But But I think then when it's not your turn, so when it was somebody else playing, you have that tension of like, oh, what are they going to do? Oh no, who can I handle this? So you're always involved, whether it's that mounting tension or that like puzzly nature kind of bringing that anxiety back down. And I really like the flow in between the turns.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of games that are very tactical like this where as soon as it's not my turn, I'm disengaged. There are plenty of games where Risk, for example, those types of things. I run out and I smash stuff, and then when it's not my turn, I just kind of don't care. You two are fighting for a while, whatever. But like this one, I really care. Part of that being the advantage of a two-player game. Everything you do, I'm sitting there going, okay, how can I counteract that?
Right.
Ooh, what's going to happen here? And I like that. Plus, the having those instant effects, like you mentioned, that really keeps me engaged. So there's a lot of good design decisions. Another compliment I really want to say about it is this game is pretty much one piece of art, but you don't feel that.
Right, that's true. I didn't think about that. Yes.
Yeah, there's Mary. There's the ghost side and the good side, and all of the card art with the instant effects are kind of variations of that, switching between the two, and they get a lot of mileage out of what I think is a good two pieces of art.
Right.
And then they kind of fuse them, and it just has a good presentation. The control cards look very basic, but they do exactly what I need them to do. And
I think that's it. I think that leads into that puzzle. They feel that kind of Tetris puzzle, spatial awareness. They kind of fit that idea,
Yeah.
Another so one negative that I want to bring up, and I'm not sure. I have multiple plays of this at this time. I mean, quite a few plays. So I've already gotten quite a bit of mileage out of it. But in that, however many plays, 10 plus plays, there's been 2 games where somebody has won on Monday in the first round.
And who was that person?
And both of those were with Chris. So either the universe loves Chris, or you just have to know that at some point you might have that just by very nature of the randomness of the cards. And it was that instant win, like, oh wait, I can win it right now. Boop, 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 boop. But the game is quick enough to set back up. You're like, oh, that was crazy. But if it's not that instant win, it is a very tense-filled game up through. I mean, especially if you make it through to Thursday or Friday, you were just really mapping out those cards and trying to get 1 or 2 control cards. 1 or 2. How can I make this work? Do I have enough instant effects? Not quite. I can get down to 1 tile. Oh wait, he only has 2 cards left. If I do this and that, and so you're trying to puzzle and balance. So that is one kind of concern I have, is there have been those 2 plays that were like, well, that was kind of unfulfilling. But we just reset and played another time.
And it's uncanny that the first time I played, you're like, that was odd, and then and then like a few weeks later, you're like, how did this happen again?
Right, with you. I've played with 3 other people at this point, and this has not happened.
So I think my one complaint about the instant win condition is that it doesn't necessarily feel always earned. It does kind of feel like I lucked into the right combination of cards. But I did still have to puzzle that set of cards correctly, because it's not like...
Right.
And there were times where I had to use this card from hand, but then this one upside down and this other one.
Yeah.
Then I had to buy an idea from across the table on your side and spend my one idea buy. So, it was clever play, but it was also just kind of... It happened.
Right.
Whereas I feel like in other games that have that kind of instant win condition... Easy comparison, Seven Wonders Duel. It's more of a combined effort of I really pushed military and you chose to kind of forego it at the risk of doing something else.
Right.
In this one, there's less of that.
It's also not in the first round in Seven Wonders Duel. Right. It's not like, wait, I haven't even played yet. So there's the one time you were the ghost character and you did it, and I was like, no, literally, I haven't even played a card yet. I just lost.
That might bug some people, but it doesn't bother me because, like you said, redeal, we'll play again. And the next game is not going to be that way, very likely.
And some of the most tense games are when it gets down to 1 tile, because then you can really use a lot of control to get... I mean, I've seen it swing 1 tile on this side to 1 tile on that side,
Nice, yeah.
So a huge swing there. Anything else before we go into final thoughts here?
I don't think so.
Okay, do you want to go first?
Sure.
All right.
I really like this one. I had that funny first impression where the first game I was like, are you saying if I do this, I win?
And I was like... It was hilarious.
But those more tense games of it are really good for a system that I thought, when you first play it doesn't wow you. You're like, oh, I flip some tiles over, and then you have to discard some cards. But you're right, as it gets more tense towards the end of the week, especially, you're trying to make every card count. And so I really like that. I haven't said my score yet. Sorry. It's for me, it's going to be a 7.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I have a lot of fun with it, and if it if you do have like a weird first impression with it, I think it's one worth coming back to.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm coming in higher. I'm going to come with a seal of excellence at 8.5 on this one. I do, like I said, have the concerns about that instant win sometimes being too powerful. We even talked like, oh, I wonder if we played a game where it wasn't an instant win. It's just if you get them all turned over, I forget what we said, you would get some boon or something like that. Oh, that's maybe like
Discard
another,
more cards.
it's 4 cards that the person has to discard. Something like that, if that wouldn't help it. But that being said, that doesn't hang me up in this because it is so easy to reset, and it has been statistically not that many times, that it's happened. Statistically, 100% with Chris. So don't play with Chris, and it's like a 9.5. No.
We're actually friends, mind you.
Yeah. So I really like it. I just love the clever tug of war. In a lot of those tug of war games, it feels like you're lucking into them. It's like, well, I got a bad draw. I guess let's redo it because I just couldn't get the cards, If you don't have that played, this is so puzzling. It's such a great balance of having to puzzle it out, but then being involved in the other person's turn already. Ooh, I hope they don't take that idea card, because if I do that and I can combo this, it's combo-tastic, it's satisfying, it's tense, it's engaging, it's everything that I want in a game. And honestly, at that, you're talking about a 15, maybe 20-minute game if you're really sitting there puzzling and grinding the game out. And that's everything I want in something like this in a little box.
And good production to boot.
Absolutely. So for me, it's an 8.5. That's going to get a seal of excellence, and that is The Mirroring of Mary King. Thanks for joining us. I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
I'm Chris Yee. You know what this game should have done? It should have been Marvel themed.
Oh my
Dark
gosh.
Phoenix. Yeah.
No, I'm turning it off.
No, just hear me out here, okay?
No.